I have to say, Square Enix has been on a bit of a release spree over the last few months, both in terms of new releases and announcements, with even more coming down the line. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they can be a little bit hit or miss with their games, but regardless, they have been releasing demos, which is generally a good thing in my view. Granted, demos don't always give you the entire picture. You might love a demo and hate the full game, hate the demo but love the full game, or something in between. That said, I think demos are usually more useful than not, which is why I'm happy to see a demo for Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I've actually been following this game since it was announced, and it looked interesting to me from the very beginning. In all honesty, I wasn't as into this demo as I was the Valkyrie Elysium one, but still I thought it was promising, so I've decided to buy the full game on release and review it on the channel. So what is Star Ocean: The Divine Force, and what can you do in this demo? Well, it's an action RPG with an emphasis on aerial movement and exploration. It's actually the 6th major installment in the Star Ocean series and the first game we've had since 2016. Up front, I have to say, I'm seeing a lot of mixed feelings towards this demo online. I've seen people saying it's fun, some people saying it needs work, and some people who say it's outright garbage. Long story short, it is looking to be pretty divisive amongst both older fans and new players to the franchise. As far as the demo goes, I agree that it needs some improvements, but overall I think it is pretty good. I'm not going to say that it wowed me or blew me away, but I did enjoy what I played outside of a few performance issues. Story-wise, you play as Raymond Lawrence, the captain of a transport ship which is attacked by the Pan-Galactic Federation at the start of the game. After the attack, Raymond and the surviving members of the crew crash land on what this game refers to as an underdeveloped planet. In this universe, there are many futuristic planets and worlds that have incredible technology and the ability to space travel, but on the other side of the coin, there are many other planets that are pretty close to being medieval. Swords and magic exist alongside guns and tech, albeit very far apart. And from what the demo shows us, the underdeveloped planets have no idea that space travel is even possible. I'm not overly familiar with the Star Ocean series, but for me, the clashing of the old and new in this game is what I found to be most interesting. I like the whole fish out of water theme that they've got going on here, with some of the characters not even understanding what a phone or a radio is. Shortly after the crash, a large monster appears that Raymond isn't ready to deal with, and two characters come to his aid, Princess Leticia and her royal retainer Albert. They help you defeat the monster, which serves as a quick tutorial, and then you all set off on your adventure. There is of course much more to it than that, and I'm being intentionally vague to avoid spoiling the plot. The demo is free and available now though, so you can check it out whenever you feel like it if you want to know more. The demo gives you a good 2 hours or so of gameplay, and in this time you'll get a feel for the story, the progression, the combat, and the exploration. I'm not going to go into every minute detail, but I'm going to give you an idea of how it all works. We've already gone over the story, so let's talk about the combat and the exploration. The game, at least at first glance, plays mostly like a standard action RPG with hack and slash combat and some skills that you can activate. It's only when you dig a little bit deeper that you uncover how it actually works. All of your attacks, from elaborate special moves to even the most basic looking sword combos, require AP to use. AP is shown as this green segmented gauge located at the lower middle of the screen. Every single attack that you use requires varying amounts of those segments. Once your AP is depleted, you cannot attack, but you can still move freely, use items, and switch to different characters. AP recovers over time, and it's a relatively quick process. I found it was best to think of it as stamina and a way for the game to stop you from spamming attacks over and over. I wouldn't say it was similar to a Souls-like stamina system though, it feels closer to something like Final Fantasy VII Remake with some obvious differences. After a short time in the demo, you'll unlock the Duma flight unit, which allows you to glide and launch yourself into the air. It's useful for exploring the world, which has some nice verticality to it, as well as for the maneuverability during battles. You can use it to initiate a fight from a distance by targeting an enemy, which gives you an advantage over them and also allows you to circle around enemies to exploit their position. This is called blindsiding. Attacks to the flank or the back of an enemy can stagger them, leaving them vulnerable. Some bigger enemies and bosses can't be blindsided, but the majority can be. The Duma flight unit has its own gauge to be aware of, and as you've probably already guessed, performing flight combat actions will deplete it. The flight gauge can be replenished during a battle by landing hits on the enemy or taking hits yourself. Luckily, using flight abilities outside of combat doesn't use up anything at all. This probably goes without saying, but as you defeat enemies and complete quests, you'll obtain XP which levels up the characters in your party, increasing their stats and unlocking new skills. You can also acquire new weapons, clothes, armor, accessories, and consumable items. Leveling up also grants each character some skill points which can be used on their extensive skill grids. Each character's grid is unique and unlocks basic passives like more damage or defense, and also new combat skills and attacks which can be equipped in the menus. Every character has two sections within their menu screen where you can equip newly acquired skills. There's the passive skill section where you can equip up to 3 passive abilities, and then the chain combo section, which is a little bit more involved. As I mentioned earlier, each and every attack you perform is a skill that requires AP to use. When you see me performing a 3-hit combo in the video, I'm actually using 3 different skills which have been set in that order in the chain combo section. The square, circle, and triangle buttons each allow you to set a chain combo made up of 3 unlocked skills. This means that you can pick whichever skill you want as the first, second, and third skill in that chain. On top of that, all of the skills can be improved, and you can equip a 4th skill to each one, which is activated by holding that button down instead of tapping it. At first, I must admit, this system seemed really awkward and kind of messy to deal with, but after spending some time with it, I actually started to appreciate what it was trying to do. You don't get that many skills to play around with in the demo, but I would imagine that the customization will be rather satisfying when you have loads more abilities to mess around with. Overall, the combat feels pretty good to me, although as with Valkyrie Elysium, the game feels and looks very AA, but is being sold at a AAA price. I'm not overly happy about that, but as we all know, value is completely subjective. If you like something enough, I suppose the price won't matter to you personally. I mean, I've bought Skyrim like 4 times in 11 years, so what the hell do I know? The exploration isn't too bad in the demo, but it does have a few issues, and it's not an open world game as you might first assume. It's actually a semi-open world with large zoned off areas. Besides moving from one quest location to another, the only things to find in the world, at least in the demo, are enemies, loot chests, and Juma crystals, which are used to improve your Juma flight tech. In the menus, you can spend the crystals on new tech for your flight unit, and then equip that tech in a sub-menu. It has battle skills which can buff your character, and field skills that can increase your scan range, allowing you to detect items in the wild. All of its skills can be leveled up and improved in the same way as the character's skills. The demo also gives you a brief introduction to character bonds, which is a common concept in many JRPGs and has been for a long time. Occasionally you'll be offered optional scenes called private actions, which are essentially events between the characters. They occur when they get to know each other better during the story. I don't yet know the full extent of this system, but it doesn't seem like it has romance options or anything like that. As for negative points, I think I only have one thing to mention, or perhaps maybe 1.5 things to mention, as one of them turned out to be by design, so I guess I can't really hold that against the game. The first thing is that I think the environments look fine. Not great, but generally fine. However, when I first started the game, I thought the character models looked really weird, kind of like action figures, like very plastic looking and just odd. Funnily enough though, I looked on the Star Ocean wiki to do a little bit of research on the game, and I found out that it's literally a design choice. They intentionally make the characters look like action figures, so I guess I can't really be mad at it. I don't think they look particularly good, but they don't really offend me, so I guess it's fine. I will admit though, I do like the android girl Elena quite a bit. I mean, I can't imagine why that would be, but still. The second and final negative thing to mention, which is actually a problem, is the absolutely abysmal frame rate in certain areas of the game. And before I explain what I mean, it is worth noting up front that this could be completely fixed or just greatly improved by release day. Unfortunately, we all live in a world of day one patches and the fix it later attitude, but that's just the way of things now, and there's really not anything you can do about it. Anyway, I'm not overly sensitive to frame rate dips or bad frame pacing. I mean, I've happily played through Bloodborne multiple times, and that just about manages 30 FPS, and it's known for having weird frame pacing. That said, I would of course 100% rather that it be 60 FPS, but my point is it doesn't bother me that much. In the case of this Star Ocean demo though, it is 60 FPS for most of the game, even when in combat, but in specific open areas, the frame rate fluctuates so badly. It's really bad at times. It's honestly unpleasant to watch. I don't know how well it's coming across in the video, but if you decide to try the demo for yourself, especially on PS5, you'll definitely experience it. It's not even like it's 60 and dips into the 50s on the odd occasion. It's more like 60, then dips to under 30, then up to 50, then down to 40, then up to 60 again, and it does this in the space of a few seconds. I was able to deal with it because, as I say, it was only in certain areas, it wasn't constant, but it is very weird when it happens and it's not a fun thing to watch or to play. But hey, if you want to try it out for yourself, the demo is out right now and the full game releases on October 27th, 2022 for all consoles except the Nintendo Switch. Physical copies are widely available, but if consoles are not your thing, you'll also be able to get it on PC via Steam. In my opinion, the demo for Star Ocean: The Divine Force does a decent job of introducing the game to new players and gives you enough content to understand what you'll experience in the full game. There is, without a doubt, some performance issues on PS5 as the frame rate really struggles in certain areas. I think the combat and movement takes a little bit of getting used to. The battles and traversal can feel a bit janky and rough around the edges, but after the initial learning phase, I began to enjoy it and I think it started to flow quite nicely. It's definitely not the best looking game in the world, but I think it's fine. I don't find it outright ugly or anything like that, and it does have some really nice skyboxes. Ultimately, I'm actually looking forward to this one. I'm not expecting to be blown away by it, but I'm going to go into the game with middle of the road expectations and hopefully I'll like it more than I assume I will. If this looks at all interesting to you and you like JRPGs, then I would highly recommend giving the demo a try. With any luck, the performance issues will be fixed or at least greatly improved by a day one patch, but at the moment, that remains to be seen. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.